Hi there, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Subculture TV. My name's Tyler.
My name's Jess.
And I'm Chris.
All right, let's get into it. So, today, it is only our fourth episode, and we are about to go into a topic that might get us canceled, which is what is an anime? And are some of these animes that everyone debates on really an anime, or are they not?
Ooh.
So, traditionally, anime was always just animated, cartoons or anything that was like made in Japan. I personally feel like at this point, we've kind of transcended that. Now I know that would by its definition be true, but I feel like at this point in time, the impact that anime has on culture, and because there's so many gray areas, with anime in itself, really, I think anime at this point is essentially like an art style, right? I think there are some things now, not everything's going to look alike, but I think there's overall an overarching, like, you can kind of look at something and say, that's an anime or is not. Now, that's my personal opinion, but I know there's like definitely a lot of harsh lines around that and how people feel.
Yeah, well, when we were at WonderCon this year, we actually talked to a bunch of people who said Avatar The Last Airbender is not an anime because it was not made in Japan.
Yeah.
And I agree with you, Tyler, in that I heavily disagree on the whole has to be made in Japan criteria. Because let's think about it like this. Is Hello Kitty an anime, right? Because based on their definition, it was animated, made in Japan. Hello Kitty to me is not an anime. And I do wonder, and I didn't get the chance to ask them this when I met them, is do those people consider Hello Kitty an anime? Or is there a secret third factor that I'm not even thinking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I do agree that a lot of things, right? Like, anime has changed. Like, if you were talking about in the 90s, definitely anything that's made in, like, Japan, anime. But now that currently, I feel like a lot of, even, like, the way Avatar The Last Airbender took so many influences, and it was not just stylized, but it was written just like you would see in an anime where, like, yeah, on the surface, it's kind of, oh, you have a guy that's really funny. You have someone that just wants to be the best at something. You have a girl that's fighting to be, just to be accepted. And then you have the comedic relief, being Sokka.
Yeah.
If you just look at that at the surface level, like, yeah, sure. Yeah, it's a funny quote unquote cartoon. But if you actually look into the story, like you're having a kid that's dealing with PTSD, you're having a girl that's not only fighting for the fact that she's a woman that no one wanted to be her master when she went to the north because she's a woman.
Female, yeah.
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 And then you have Sokka who just wants to essentially be accepted and have his dad like love him. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's it's sad when you actually dig deep into it, and like I feel like a lot of anime, like the shonen stuff that we read, because it's geared towards teenage kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many dark undertones that when you actually peel through the layers of it, it actually means something.
Yeah. So I think we all agree that it doesn't have to be made in Japan, but let's kind of get into what is an anime, right? So because there has to be a criteria, or else even Hello Kitty gets lumped in there, which I don't know how you guys feel about Hello Kitty, but to me it's not an anime.
I've never watched it.
But I mean,
I feel
just
like it's a
get the gist
cartoon.
from the idea of it,
yeah,
right?
I get the gist.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we all agree that Hello Kitty, although made in Japan, is not an anime. So what makes an anime, right?
Yeah, for me, I think what makes an anime is there's a few distinctions between animes and cartoons, because here's my thing. Everyone who watches anime always gets so upset whenever someone tells them it's just a cartoon. So you're either in the boat that, anime is a specific style, or if not, then all you're saying is that essentially it is just a Japanese cartoon and that it is just a cartoon. So for me, I think one, it's the art style, right? I think it has to have some representation of that anime art style. By now it is very defined.
Yeah.
But two, the biggest difference between animes and cartoons for me has always been they're not standalone episodes. Yeah, there's some animes where they can stand alone themselves and you don't have to have too much backstory to really understand and enjoy it. But for the most part, cartoons never really followed a storyline, right? Like, sure, SpongeBob was trying to become a fry cook, but realistically, how much did that really impact the story? It never really felt like that was actually the main point of it. It just felt like every single episode was just leading to nothing.
But isn't that kind of the same for Pokemon, in which, yeah, of course he wants to win the badges and stuff like that,
but I mean, like, let's say you hop on, like, let's take the original series, right? Like season 1.
okay,
You're not gonna know, like, oh, he went from Brock to all of a sudden, like, he's battling, I forget the lieutenant on the Raichu one,
Yeah.
right? Battling him, all of a sudden he has 2 new companions. He has all these other, like, you're not necessarily gonna understand the story, and you're not gonna get the impact of why Pikachu decides to turn down.
Yeah, like it's an adventure.
Yeah.
That's one episode in which I do agree that has a lot of emotional impact. But let's say for most, like 90% of Pokemon episodes, you could just pick and choose and watch them randomly, and you could just enjoy your time and not
I
be
would
that
say
confused.
you could, but that's like mainly because like Pokemon's so straightforward. But if you look at, again, just going back to like American cartoons, like, or what most people consider a cartoon, like you go from one SpongeBob episode and the next episode, it doesn't even have a time frame to it because essentially it doesn't matter. Like, it's at the same time with Pokemon, it doesn't matter whether or not you can watch the next one without any context and still understand it. It's still an adventure because it's still a continuation.
Yeah, it's the journey.
It's like an actual journey, right? Rather than like, oh, here's just another day in the life of this person without absolutely any goal. I would say like there's a few cartoons that have had that. So like, what was Gravity Falls has an actual storyline, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, the way that the individual episodes are structured doesn't really feel like a storyline because there's no dates to it. You could really it doesn't feel like an adventure. Like it's like here's an episode where maybe at the very end you find out a missing piece of the puzzle that's going to be the whole thing. But with anime, every single episode is part of that story, part of that adventure.
So your argument pretty much is if you remade SpongeBob with an anime style, it would still not be an anime. Whereas with Gravity Falls, because it has an overarching story, if that was remade into an anime style, then it would be an anime.
I would say so. I mean, maybe not Gravity Falls because I think, again, it still falls in that. Like the way the episodes itself are structured are a little bit less like an adventure and more just like here's an individual standalone.
Like
I would argue it's more of an adventure than it is. Gravity Falls, it follows a story and it's more of an adventure than Pokemon.
I
heavily stand by that.
I think towards the end, but the beginning, not really.
I mean, that's hard to say because Gravity Falls wasn't that many episodes.
Yeah.
And the beginning few episodes was more so exposition. It's not that it didn't go towards a story. It's that it took time to build those characters to showcase, okay, now we can get on with the overarching story, which is very common in animes too.
I mean, you could say the same thing with Pokemon.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying Gravity Falls and Pokemon, both, if drawn in the anime style, right, obviously, it would be considered an anime.
I've never watched Gravity Falls.
Oh, it's so good. It's like an anime for people who like cartoon style. Yeah. It's really, it pretty much follows an overarching story. There's hints of the main ending all throughout the series, and it's very short. They did not make it longer than it needed to be.
Yeah.
I was more into Rick and Morty.
Okay.
Rick and Morty, I only gave it a few shots in terms of episodes, but I felt like the humor in Rick and Morty was a little more lowbrow than Gravity Falls, which is silly of me to say because Rick and Morty's actually aimed towards a older audience.
Yeah.
But I think you would enjoy Gravity Falls. I mean, I know we're an anime podcast, but go cartoon sometime, you know?
Yeah. No, I like cartoons, but I think there's like that is like my distinction for an anime.
Yeah, because I think because like if you look at the biggest cartoons, right, that I guess like the West as a whole has produced, if you look at Cartoon Network, right, in its peak, you have like Courage the Cowardly Dog, you have Dexter's Laboratory, you're gonna have Johnny Bravo, things like that, right? And then if you go Nickelodeon, you're gonna have things like Fairly Odd Parents, Rugrats,
Jimmy Neutron.
Oh yeah, that was Nickelodeon. Yeah. Jimmy
Yeah.
Neutron. Yeah, things like that, right? You could pick apart any of those, watch one episode, and be okay.
Yeah.
There's no story. I guess
pretty much like the song actually tells you the whole basis of what you need to know about it.
Yeah. I think the only argument that could be held up where a cartoon has a story that follows, kind of, is that if you watch anything that's kind of related to like DC and Marvel,
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah,
know?
but like I would say like for something like that, like that is just a comic book, right?
exactly, yeah, it's a comic
So
book that's followed a story.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just, but again, that's like the only exception that I can
Yeah.
think of.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I wish Invincible was an anime.
Oh,
You
gosh,
don't think
it-
Invincible is an anime?
No, because
It's
the drawing style is
more like a
drawn towards like a comic book
yeah,
rather than a
cartoon.
manga.
Well,
Because how
what is the drawing style anyway? Because I thought more so it was not the drawing style, but how it came to be. Like, I don't know about you, but Invincible looks very hand drawn to me, kind of like
Mhm.
animes. Whereas, things like SpongeBob or Jimmy Neutron, it's very obvious that it was computer generated, maybe some touch up, but mostly computer generated. And so for me, the distinction between anime and cartoons, besides the storyline, was that
well,
it has that hand drawn style.
I think it's like
Re-
the actual style of the art though for me. Like the face
Interesting.
structures of like American
cartoons
like,
compared,
with,
yeah,
like superheroes is very different than like a hero from an anime.
yeah, because if you look at how they're drawn, right, like in Invincible, they're drawn with very like straight and
Mhm.
bold lines,
Yeah.
right? If you look at any anime, they even like if you look at Baki, if you look at
Yeah.
like My Hero Academia, Dragon Ball Z, anything they have really big shredded dudes, they're all like, yeah, they have straighter lines, but they're still rounder,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
And they have that they have that there to let you know that this isn't necessarily going to be super serious,
Okay.
right? Because it's something that our brains tell ourselves. So we see something more round, it's more comedic. It's when it's more straight, it's more serious, which is why they have switch ups. So like when you have certain scenes in anime where someone's powering up or someone is like breaking their limit or whatever, if you look, you'll actually see the character drawn slightly different, where they have straighter and bolder lines. But like Invincible, that's all it is.
I would argue that
Yeah.
Invincible has a lot of rounded lines. Now, if you're talking about line pressure, as in like some lines are thicker than others,
Yeah.
then I'll give it to you in that I think Invincible uses very consistent lineage in that every line is the exact same thickness.
Yeah, which
But
is
they do have roundedness in terms of their
right.
character
Yeah, but they're
design.
not round. If you look, it's round, it straightens, round, straightens, round, straightens. Because they're drawn like American comics. So if you look at like any American comic, right, it's never perfectly like round. Like if you compare like like Superman's shoulders, right, to Goku's shoulders, very different of how they're portrayed.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a little bit. The only time that's different again is when Goku is turning, bless you, turning Super Saiyan or anything like that, because then it becomes more of like the westernized drawing.
Yeah.
I completely understand where you guys are coming from with that in terms of the drawing style. Now, I don't think I agree with that. I think it like once you get hand drawn and more towards human-esque than, Hello Kitty, I think that's enough for me personally. Because let me throw some
Mhm.
Hypotheticals?
hypotheticals at you, okay? So obviously you guys don't think Arcane is an anime, right? Because
I don't know.
I mean, you can't because it's not
Why?
drawn in a Japanese style. You
Well-
told me that there would have to be a Japanese drawing style, and it's obviously not.
It's 3D though. It's so like the drawing is going to be different. So like if you look at what's a decent 3D? Oh my gosh, what's that other one on Netflix? The fighting one that's like Baki.
Record of Ragnarok?
No,
Oh.
starts with a T.
Tekken?
No, not Tekken. It came out before Tekken. I can't remember, but it's on Netflix.
Okay.
Or it starts with a K. Kenichi? Kenichин?
Oh no, I don't know.
So-
Kenpachi?
No. But that was completely done all in 3D.
So you're saying if it's in 3D, then it doesn't have to follow the Japanese style?
There is
that
still
your argument?
there is still Japanese styles in
Not
it.
in Arcane. You
You know-
could
you know-
not, through my dead body, would you convince me that it's drawn in a Japanese style?
Yeah, for me, Arcane doesn't really fit like the same aesthetic. Now, if this was Genshin Impact went and had, a movie made about it or like a TV series made
Yeah.
about it, I would say Genshin Impact fits the correct style of
Mhm.
an anime, right? Like all the characters look very like shonen esque. Now that being said, I don't necessarily consider Arcane an anime. I think for the most part, I do think there's a big difference between how, and I guess it would be more so how comics are drawn versus how mangas are drawn, right? And that to me is what differentiates, like that drawing style is what differentiates what actually is an anime. So, like for example, for me, even though it was a manhwa, the way that what was it called?
Tower of God.
No, God of High School.
God of High School.
The
Okay.
way that God of High School was drawn, and the way that they animated it, right? For me, like that fits the like rules
Yeah.
of an anime.
So, do you think that Arcane is an anime now after we've had this
Yes.
discussion? You still think that?
Yeah.
Because I think it's okay to continuously shift what you think an anime is. I'm just trying to figure out what, at the end of today's episodes, what is that definitive?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think there's necessarily going to be a definitive
Has to be.
because because like if you take My Hero Academia,
Uh-huh.
right, that has so many Western influences
Yeah.
onto it. Now, if you look at the manga for that, just the manga, would you assume that was like, let's say it was ripped out and you don't know it's in a manga, right? Would you assume that was a manga or just an American comic?
I would assume it's manga.
Yeah.
Really?
Based on the drawing style.
Yeah.
But see, I would have actually guessed that it was based off of like, so there's a comic line called Icon that that'd be one of theirs.
Okay. So you think that Arcane is an anime, even though it doesn't have the Japanese drawing style because of its
but see, but
3D-ness?
It I think it does because they have a lot of like dramatic, like body proportions.
Mm.
You know, so like,
So does SpongeBob.
but those are unhuman, like non-humanoids.
Okay, Steven Universe.
Never watched that one.
I mean, like literally, it's like a round ball body shape. That's very exaggerated.
Yeah, but like this is still
I'm just
Yeah.
trying to figure out why you
because
think it's an anime.
because it's still like, take One Piece for instance, right?
Mhm.
Like their body proportions are still kind of human,
Okay.
right? But they're really thin.
Not
really,
real.
Yeah, I was
know,
gonna say,
right, I
especially
know.
not after they grow up.
But see, but if you compare like something like that to Arcane, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Arcane still has the dramatic effects what One Piece has, right, and their characters. And I just think like if you look at the newer animation for One Piece, not necessarily like back in the 90s, right? If One Piece was more like 3D, I think they would actually have more of a mold of what Arcane has.
I don't know. I for me, I just feel the actual drawing style. It doesn't really feel. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say it fits in the same category as like a standard cartoon either. But for me, it like everything from the face to like the body proportions. I think there's something slightly off about it for me.
Right, because it was supposed to be like, because it's based off of, what was it?
League of
Yeah, League of
Legends.
Legends, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it was, a lot of it was supposed to be like those cutscenes, just like they did with Tekken,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? So it's like, would you consider Tekken an anime?
So
I think for me, like, because I say that hand drawn is a necessity in terms of it being an anime, for me, Arcane is not an anime, and Tekken just barely fits it because it's not completely 3D. It does look like it's hand drawn, and so I would give Tekken the anime seal of approval.
do you think that Ajin is not an anime then?
Ooh, it was Ajin 100% 3D.
I think it
Pretty
was.
much, yeah. If I can like.
For
Yeah.
me, okay, well, here's the man.
Or
That's
li-
a hard one. I didn't know that.
Or like
Yeah.
Beast Stars.
That one was completely 3D.
Yeah.
I never watched it, so I couldn't
Oh.
say how it looks.
It-
Come back to me. Let me think while you guys discuss.
Yeah.
Yeah, but or what's another one? So like I would agree that Avatar The Last Airbender would be considered an anime, right?
Okay.
I'm iffy on Korra.
So
Why? What's the difference?
Korra doesn't have a story past the first season.
Oh, okay.
That's my main thing. Like the first season, I thought it was great. I think Korra herself was kind of boring, but like the story of like the first season was good.
yeah.
And then I think because it was only supposed to be like a 1-season wonder, right? It wasn't supposed to go past that. And then people liked it, so they, money talks. They brought back season 2. They didn't think it was gonna get extended for season 3. And then so it was like all these like short period of like stories that don't necessarily match up with each other,
Okay.
which is why like the power system was off. But that's a whole different thing. But if you're asking me if it was like fits into an anime format, I don't think it does.
Yeah, I agree. I think in my definition, I think Avatar is definitely an anime. Now, it definitely leans itself towards like that very, very gray zone, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think overall it has a drawing style to warrant an anime.
Yeah.
I think it has a story, and it has like lessons and values you can learn from it. For me, it has everything there. It has, yeah, I would just say like it has that influence of anime in the actual style of that it went for.
I agree. I agree that Avatar is for sure an anime. I'm going to circle back to Ajin.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say final answer. Ajin was a manga that got adapted into a cartoon.
Dang,
Yep.
that's a hot take.
If you're telling me that it's completely animated in 3D, and that's a fact, okay? Like, if it's a fact that it was completely 3D, then it's a cartoon. If there was any hand-drawn elements, then I will say it's an anime.
So like
That's my distinction.
So your distinction is any hand-drawn elements whatsoever makes it an anime?
Hand-drawn scenes, not just like,
So
I hand drew this and then put it into a 3D simulator.
So I guess what's wrong with being 3D though? Because like for me,
I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying it's not anime.
But like,
So like Attack on Titan.
It's only partially 3D, so it's still an anime. But once you pass the
So-
line into only 3D, it's no longer an anime.
What's the ratio?
Literally anything more than 0% of hand-drawn elements is an anime. That's the ratio.
So someone drew a cloud.
If they drew like the clouds moving, like scene by scene, there's a difference between one static thing that was hand-drawn versus like an element that actually moves that was hand-drawn. So if it was like the background clouds moving and it's a very small part of the people that are actually in the front and that part was hand-drawn, anime.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to be very arbitrary right now.
Very arbitrary.
all right.
That's a fifth grade word.
So
I haven't heard that in a while.
I'm gonna ask you guys some animes,
Okay.
and I want you guys to actually think about whether or not you guys would. Or yes, I'm gonna say some names of shows, and we're gonna say whether or not they're an anime because I'm not gonna say I'm
Sure.
gonna say animes. So we all agree, or I think we're all on the same page that we think Avatar would be
Yes.
an anime. Now, kind of going into something that Chris talked about, Tekken. For me, I feel like the way, even though it was 3D, the way that Street Fighter has historically been drawn has always been that gray zone. Like, some parts of it, you know, are very like DC superhero-esque in terms of like their builds. But part of it, especially after watching the Tekken anime, especially after watching the Tekken like series,
Show.
the show, I think a lot of it does lean itself towards an anime for me.
Okay.
Yeah, the animation, like the way they're drawn, is the only part where it's a little bit hard for me because it's in that gray zone for me and how they're drawn.
Yeah. And you said that Tekken was 100% 3D, right? Or was it
It was.
partially
I would
hand-drawn?
assume it was
But
like majority,
like 90%.
like
at least.
99.9%.
Yeah.
Because I want to give it the anime seal of approval, but at the same time, it just looks like a cartoon. Like
I mean, and
the shadows, like those triangles on their body, that
Yeah.
just screams cartoon to me.
and it doesn't technically follow like a full story all the way through, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it does, but
it follows a story.
Yeah,
you
but-
follows a
can't
bad
blame,
yeah,
story.
yeah.
you can't blame it for not following it all the way through just because there's no second season yet.
Yeah.
no, that's how it ended in the
Alright.
game.
I know, but
But
you don't
there's
think
more
they're
games
gonna.
after,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. You don't think they're gonna
Oh.
like eventually
Probably.
come out with more?
I don't
I
think
gotta
so.
say, I was so sad. I was really rooting for him.
Yeah, it was a little harsh.
Yeah. I mean, because I put it in the same boat as Baki.
Okay.
So it's
Yeah.
an anime for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, next one. Like Jess said, Pokemon. I think this is without 100%, like without like any doubt in my mind, this is like an anime.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like everyone's gateway, or it was everyone's
Yeah.
gateway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like our gateway that we just
Didn't know it was a
didn't
gateway.
know because we didn't have like that like we didn't have that word for it at a young age, right?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't a thing.
It was a cartoon.
Yeah, exactly. Like same with like Speed Racer for me. Like how do you guys feel about Speed Racer?
I never watched it.
I think that would be considered an anime.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
like it had like I think it was like one of those early animes that really like set forth like this is part of like the tropes and everything.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I think I can't remember which way it went. Either Speed Racer or Akira like inspired each other to like
Oh.
do like racing
Yeah.
mangas.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I would consider it.
Okay. You guys ready for the next one?
Hmm.
Hello Kitty.
No, it's not. It's not. It's not.
So what about shows that are on Crunchyroll like Aggregetsu?
It's not.
I haven't watched it.
But you know what it is, right? Like that
It's
little
like the little red panda thing.
the-
Oh
like-
yeah. I know what
Yeah.
you're talking about.
It's not an
Never watched
anime.
I mean, looking at it, I would assume it's like something I would put on for like children.
right?
But is it
Yeah.
a children's anime or is it a children's cartoon is the question.
I
And
don't. It's something that I feel like I would have watched back in like the golden years of like cartoons. We'd have to wake up at like 6 a.m.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
golden years of, what was it?
Huh?
Cartoons,
Yeah,
not
cartoon, yeah,
anime.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I agree on that. Now, how about we're gonna get into something where now it's more of is an anime that's, or I guess we kind of touched on Avatar, but stuff like Link Click, stuff like Daily Life of the Immortal King, these were originally, I think Daily Life of the Immortal King was a Chinese.
Yeah.
Same with Link Click.
Yeah, same with Link Click.
Oh, Link Click is Chinese. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So for something like that, where I believe it was even produced in China, without any like Japanese dub, do we feel like something like that is an anime? For me, the art style says yes.
Yeah, I 100% think both of them
Yeah.
are animes.
Yeah.
I mean, I would even throw in King's Avatar for like Chinese
Mm,
anime.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would consider that an anime for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I know Tower of God and God of High School were made in Japan with Japanese dub,
Yeah.
but those were originally Korean. And I would still consider those anime, not because it was made in Japan, but just because of everything from art style to the fact that it has a storyline.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I actually think they did a good job on those for all the hate that they get. I just want to throw that out there.
I love Tower of God. It's such
Yeah.
a good series.
So yeah, screw Rachel. But
Oh, yeah. The worst. Man.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it's because like when people just say if it's from Japan, then it's an anime. It makes it hard
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we're getting more and more manhwas getting animated, right? Because like what Solo Leveling is coming up,
Yes.
so yeah, like so it just you have Nobilis, Tower of God, and God of High School,
Yeah.
right? All three of those are Korean. Solo Leveling is also Korean.
Yep.
Yeah.
So like, would you not consider that an anime?
No, for
They're
me,
for sure an
I
anime.
100% consider it. And I think
Yeah.
like here's like another way to like think about it for like anyone who's watching. Like if SpongeBob was like animated in Japan, would you have considered it an anime? For me, no.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure not. Yeah, it's like Hello Kitty, you know?
You
It just
know.
doesn't have the style.
yeah, it's like I don't know if you guys watched Star Wars, but they have
Clone Wars?
no.
Oh.
I mean, but so there was I forget what the Star Wars series was called, but each one was animated in a different style, and one
Yeah.
was like a Japanese style of anime.
Okay.
You know, would you consider that an anime then?
The episode maybe, but not
But
the,
the
show.
whole, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't consider the whole show at all
Yeah.
an anime,
Yeah.
just because like the way the story is being told isn't like what we see.
I think if it was drawn, I don't see why not. Like for example, like we have this new anime that's coming out this year called Loser Ranger, right?
Yeah,
And it's just it's about Power Rangers. But just because Power Rangers is not an anime doesn't mean I think that this, which is drawn in an anime style, is not going to be an anime. I still consider it an anime.
Of course.
For me, like that alone gives me like confidence to say that I think anime has transcended just being something that was animated in Japan and has now become more of like its own style, right? Like
Yeah.
well, and the fact that here in the U.S., right, we're actually having animated studios do anime.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, which is just it's showing that people need to kind of stop. they need to break out of that shell
Yeah.
of like, oh, if it's not made in Japan, it's not real anime.
I honestly feel like that mentality is almost gatekeeping
Yeah.
people that don't watch anime from actually starting it, because they're like, oh, like it's like an Asian thing, and
Yeah.
it becomes more exclusive. Where for me, I don't know about you guys, is I want more people to enjoy anime. I want more people to try it out, and I truly believe there's an anime for everyone.
Yeah.
They might not be into all animes, kind of like we are, but
Yeah.
there's something for someone.
Yeah, like I'm not necessarily super into like slice of life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love shonen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
So-
Yeah.
And like dark psychological thrillers, dark fantasies, things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a genre for anime for everybody, but like it is upsetting whenever I do hear people say, "Oh, well, that's not really an anime." Like, especially when it comes to Avatar, I feel like that's a hot button for like a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it wasn't made in Japan, so it wasn't. Like, you know how much work these guys actually put in
Yeah.
to get that same feeling of what you would get from watching whatever anime that you would,
Yeah.
down to like the movements of like, oh, so if you're an earthbender, this is how you would fight based off this type of martial art. Firebend, like
Yeah.
it's all that same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially because like, what's the difference? Like, I guess it goes to, well, if a single episode, let's say the whole studio, not that this has ever happened, but let's say the whole studio, like maybe someone who, like maybe during like COVID, let's say everyone took a break and let's say they went to Hawaii, right? And they animated an episode while they were in like a retreat in Hawaii. Is that one episode no longer an anime?
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? For me, it's ridiculous. Like, I understand like where the term came from, but I think like terms are like capable of evolution.
Yeah, not to mention, isn't anime just short for animation? It's not like it's really grounded in much anyway.
Yeah.
So why can't we change the definition as the world changes, as the
Yeah.
anime sphere changes?
Yeah, because like even if you look at like manga, right?
Oh yeah.
We have American manga now
Yep.
from that are being written in English, but written in the style of a manga.
Yeah.
But would you not consider that a manga anymore?
Right.
Yeah.
It's something as basic as that, where it's like, so if any of these American mangas, let's just say, were animated here in the U.S. by these animated studios, would they not be considered anime, or do they have to be animated by someone like MAPPA to be considered?
Right.
Yeah, or like complete opposite, right? What if there was like an anime, or what if there was a manga that was in Japan that got 100% of it done somewhere else, but it's done the exact same style? Is that not an anime anymore because it wasn't done in the U, or because it was done like, let's say in the US, or let's say in Mexico or wherever?
Yeah. And
Doesn't make any sense.
for me, I find that manhwa and manga, and what's the Chinese one? They have like a different word. I
Yeah.
think it's just translation of the word comic.
Comic, yeah.
I don't think that there's like manhwa versus manga. I think they both mean the same thing. It's just translated into different languages, and they're all the same. Now, I will give it to you in that manhwas have a very specific distinction against mangas, in that most of them are colored, like fully colored,
Yeah.
every single page.
Mhm.
And they usually are in kind of like a webtoon style where you read scrolling down. They're not paneled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I will give it to you that that's different, but I think that's just different way of telling
A story.
a comic.
Yeah.
Like, they're all comics in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, like if you look at an American comics, right? Ours are really tiny, like thin, right?
Yeah.
They're like bigger books that you're gonna read from left to right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mangas, covers flipped,
Yep.
still read the same, left to
Yeah.
right. So I don't know how manhwas are. I've never read one.
You've never read a manhwa?
No, like not a physical copy. I've read them on webtoons.
Oh,
Oh,
I
yeah,
think,
yeah,
I think
same,
that's just how
same.
most of them
Yeah.
are even like
Oh,
produced.
it's the same, like just like
No.
Cover
When
flipped?
you make it into a book, they'll actually adapt it in a way that's easier to tell the story,
okay.
so that it's not just like like one picture per page. Because think
Right,
about how
yeah,
many
yeah,
pages that
I-
would take,
yeah.
and how big the images would
Right.
be.
Yeah. So like that's what I mean. It's like I didn't
Yeah.
know how to compare. I've read webtoons and
So-
like everything else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they actually changed the formatting a little bit, most of them, in order to tell the
Mm.
story better.
Yeah, but so it's like all these people saying that if any of those got animated, right? Whether it's a manhwa, it's whatever, I don't know what the Chinese one's called, or the
Yeah.
manga animated here in the US, that wouldn't be considered an anime.
I would say it is an anime.
I would say
Yeah.
too,
I would
but
say.
a lot of people would say, well, it's not Japanese, so it's not considered.
Yeah.
Right? It's so dumb.
I'm very
Sorry.
curious, like, what their thoughts would be on Link Click, which is a made in China, but also what their thoughts are on Tower of God, which is made in Japan, but it's based off of a Korean story,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I think, next time we're at con, which I think we're going to Fan Fusion.
Hopefully.
Yeah, Fan Fusion. When we're there, we should ask people, because I'm really curious as to where they feel like the distinction is. Because I felt like I met too many people that said Avatar: The Last Airbender is not an anime, and it was very surprising to me.
And a main reason was because it wasn't in Japan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was all, multiple people have said that, and I didn't really think to ask the follow-up questions then.
So like, here's a good question. Like, how do you guys feel about live actions, anime adaptations? Is it
No one asked for it.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Well, I
We
mean-
don't want it.
Okay,
We don't want it.
whether or not anyone asked for it, I guess, can you still consider it? I mean, it's not even animated, right? It's like
No.
there's no way for it to be
That's-
an anime.
Yeah, it's just a
that's
live
not an
action.
anime.
Yeah.
It's a live action adaptation of an anime.
Okay.
And it's done poorly. Like,
Every time somehow,
yeah.
right? How?
They're
Even
not all bad.
even like Cowboy
Stop.
Bebop.
You're not gonna say that. What's it called? Full Metal Alchemist was good. are
No.
you?
You guys ever watch the greatest anime, Korra in the House?
Oh my gosh.
Jeez.
No, I have not watched Corey.
I haven't watched much. The show is pretty whack in itself.
I'm gonna admit I watched like pretty much every episode of Korra in the House, but I don't think it was good. I just
Yeah.
had a content problem where
It
I was
wasn't. It was.
consuming
Are you saying it
everything.
wasn't good because it was great, or was it good because it was bad?
It was bad.
Okay,
Yeah.
just
Like,
want
the
to
whole
clarify.
premise was
Just want
so
to clarify.
bad.
Yeah, the whole premise is that his dad was a chef
Yep.
that became the chef, like the private chef of the White House. And as a result, the private chef of the White House gets to bring his kid and live in the White House and hang out with like everyone's kids and just have free range over every room you could possibly want to have
Yeah.
access over in the White House. It's absolutely ridiculous.
And,
Like,
like,
that's not how it works.
He hangs out with the president's daughter and
Yeah.
he invites friends over to the White House. You can't
Yeah.
just
No, you can't.
you can't just invite friends over like, hey,
Maybe
come
not
over
you.
to my home. Yeah, no kidding.
No. I can say that with definitive.
Yeah.
you definitely can do that.
Yeah. So I feel like overall we have a pretty good grasp on what we feel an anime is. It'd be interesting for anyone that is watching to kind of put in the comments, what you feel determines an anime and whether or not you
Yeah.
would feel something that wasn't made in Japan has the ability to be an anime.
Mostly I'm curious, like, for people who truly believe that it has to be made in Japan,
Yeah.
like, why do you feel so strongly about that? I'm not saying that to be attacking them. I'm just very curious, like, if there's
Yeah.
something I'm missing, maybe.
Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, like I feel like what anime technically is just it's a part of a culture that's expanded,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Because like you could like look at us here in the West, right? One of our biggest exporter at the US, I would actually feel is our entertainment, right?
Of course.
So if you look at like My Hero Academia, right? Obviously heavily inspired by DC, Marvel, and our comics, right?
Yeah.
It's just like a lot of our things that we've like how many songs were in about going Super Saiyan. You have like Creed 3, I'm blanking on his name, Michael B. Jordan.
Mhm.
Michael B. Jordan, please guest on our podcast.
Yeah.
We want you.
Yeah, like Michael B. Jordan, he took like 50 different anime references and put them in the movie.
Yeah.
So I just feel like anime has expanded culturally into so many different facets that putting it into this box saying if it's not from Japan, it is not anime is
Yeah.
doing it a disservice.
I agree.
It's like saying you haven't had real sushi unless you've been to Japan.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, because I've had some pretty great sushi.
Same.
Yeah,
you
I've
know,
had some amazing. Yeah.
yeah, or you can see that about any of their food, clothing.
Yeah.
Yep. There's a place. Sorry, I just got to give them a shout out. If you've ever been in the DC area, there's a place called Zeppelin. And if you get their omakase, you will have the best time of your life. Their fish is astonishing. They get fish from all different parts of the world. All of them are imported fresh daily. I have to say,
That sounds good.
I love sushi, and I've been to a lot of sushi places. Not a single location has ever even come close to my experience at Zeppelin. And I've eaten at like places like Nobu, and like they're just like they're good. It's just it's not Zeppelin.
I feel like Nobu is also just Overrated.
Agreed.
I
For the
agree.
price point.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah, especially for that price point.
Yeah, you can get so much better sushi elsewhere.
I know. I feel like I don't know. Nobu just yeah, I don't really like it. Just period.
I think it's definitely very different than what you would normally find in like what I consider great like sushi restaurants. But yeah, and it's very surprising too because usually like the best sushi restaurants will get like first dibs on fish.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to see like honestly the quality of the fish they're giving isn't even what I would consider like
The top of the top.
yeah
Yeah.
I would say they give like a mid grade.
yeah
Yeah.
Like it's not terrible. Like if I had to rate it out of 10, like a 7.
yeah. I think
Yeah.
they just try to like. I honestly think the biggest thing is one, it's like status, but two, like the ambience, because like
Yeah.
usually all their locations are in nice places.
Yeah,
That's
I mean
true.
like the
Yeah.
in like it is decorated really nice when
Yeah.
you I did feel like you do feel welcomed every time you go,
Yeah.
right? But at the same time, I don't feel comfortable paying X amount for the type of sushi,
Yeah.
I agree.
So it's like if I'm paying this, I want this,
I agree.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I will say, when I was eating at Zeppelin, I was at their outdoor seating for like the first like 10 minutes. I got bit by like 6 mosquitoes in that 10 minutes. And I was like, I'm sorry, I need a seat indoors. And they moved us. They were not upset. They weren't like, oh, okay. They were like, of course, no problem. So they moved
Dang,
us
like customer
inside.
service though.
Yeah, but I will say ambiance matters just because, like, if I had to eat outside, who knows how many mosquito bites I would have had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so it's like things like that. If people are really gonna say you haven't had whatever X, right? It's not really Japanese because you didn't get it in Japan.
All you had was rice fish.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, dude. It's like what the heck?
It's not sushi. It's just rice
Yeah.
fish.
Or like I don't know what you would call ramen, an American way.
Ramen.
A noodle soup?
A noodle
You mean-
soup,
you mean
yeah.
spaghetti
And
soup.
Yes, it's like,
Yeah.
what do you expect?
Well,
Yeah.
because we have chicken noodle soup, it could be pork noodle soup.
There we go, pork noodle,
Mm,
Mm.
Yummy.
delicious.
Great. All right.
Yeah, so it's just I do think people need to start expanding on their definition when it comes to
Yeah.
and stop gatekeeping.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
exactly.
agree. Now, one thing that I think definitely turns people off from animes outside of like people gatekeeping animes is tropes. Now,
Ooh.
I have a few tropes that for me I can't stand, but I'll also say this. I'm also the kind of person that loves most tropes.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I can
You
agree.
can watch the cringiest, most mid anime and thoroughly enjoy it, whereas Chris and I would be like, yeah, I couldn't get past episode 6.
But you know what? I think tropes are tropes for a reason.
Yeah,
Right?
they are.
When they're I don't mind tropes when they're executed well.
Exactly.
That's the key thing.
I don't mind
Yeah.
tropes.
Yeah.
There are some that are just like somewhat disturbing for me. Like, I guess I'll kind of just start it off. One of the tropes I hate is it's a lolly girl, but she's 1,000 years old.
and
or
they,
you're
and
100
they have
years
to
old.
make it. They always state it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and so is 1,000 years old.
Yeah.
I'm like,
And they always have no clothing on. They have like a little like bra maybe, and like some like see-through like skirt of some sort,
Or
but
steam.
that's it. Yeah,
Or
or
just
steam.
steam.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying I don't like those characters because for me, I actually end up liking a lot of these characters. Now, I hate the fact that they make them like this, and I think they make them 1,000 years old because it's like, obviously people have like bad thoughts.
Yeah.
But I actually end up usually the characters are themselves are actually pretty cool. Like for me, Shui, who was like the previous in like kind of like nation of Shiro from No Game No Life and like the No Game No Life Zero movie, like Shui was really, really cool. So it's not that I don't like the characters themselves or I don't like people that, look like younger. I don't think that they could be cool. Just I don't like when they come up and say like, oh, they're 1,000 years old. Because you know what they're trying to do at that point.
Yeah.
And that's the
Yeah.
part I don't like.
Same. I agree.
Same.
Just like one of my biggest things that I can't stand is when they take a female character and they're like, oh, she's supposed to be a badass. She's supposed to
Yeah.
do this. She's great in whatever it is, right? Can't win a fight.
Yep.
Yeah.
Needs to get saved every episode. Every
Name her Sakura.
Sakura, yeah. They're like, oh, she can stand her ground with Naruto and Sasuke. Well, do you remember what was it? I think it might have been one of the movies where they're going up against like the god like she woman.
Oh, you're talking about Kaguya?
No, oh, wait, are you talking about
Maybe.
Naruto the Last?
The one where Naruto uses the reverse harm jutsu.
Oh yeah, that's the final like arc of
Yeah.
Naruto. Yeah.
Okay, so right before that, Sakura runs out saying like, "Don't worry, I got that." She immediately gets smacked down.
Yeah.
Immediately, it had no reason to even be there at that point.
Yeah, and that's what I don't understand. You're gonna introduce an amazing character, or someone that's supposed to be amazing.
Yep.
Right? Has whatever untapped potential, and then just to get
Well,
Yep.
I also hate that like they said, oh well, she's Hokage level and she could be strong, and I'm like, no, she's really not. She got bodied by the Raikage's like bodyguards,
oh yeah,
you know, and they were the same age as her.
yes.
Yep.
So
Like-
it's like she's never proven it.
Yeah, which is why I don't know.
Yeah.
I just can't stand like
Yeah.
between, or like the worst is when they're a lolly
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
and supposed to be powerful, but they get smacked.
But you know what I do like? I do enjoy a good strong female character like
Same.
Erza,
Yeah.
like-
Or Ryu.
yeah, or Jabril.
Yeah.
Like just pop
Nobara?
off- Yeah, Nobara. Like these girls are actually strong. Like
Maki.
they could do
Maki.
whatever they want.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So it's like I enjoy.
Makia.
What I don't understand for the trope you mentioned with the 1,000-year-old lolly is when asked like, oh, why do we even need these characters to be like this? And the answer I always hear is fan service. For who?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't like a little girl and like want to sexualize her, and in order to do so I need the guilt taken off of me by them being thousands of years old. That's not fan service for me. So who is this fan service for? Probably like really weird creeps. And I wish that they wouldn't do this, because I think if they had made them look a little bit older, right, of age, and made them still thousands of years old, and made them really cute and pretty, then that still counts as fan service, and I think we could all really enjoy that
Yeah.
character.
They could at least make him look 18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least. Well, okay. I just don't want them to look 10. That's my thing. Like, if they look 16, which who's to say who looks 16 versus 18, right? That's fine to me. But like a lot of these people, the ones that I have problems with, are the ones that look like literally 10, wearing the skimpiest outfits, saying they're thousands of years old, and then having all these like raunchy scenes with them.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
wouldn't mind if they were like, oh, they're 1,000 years old and they look like they're 10, but they didn't have any of the raunchy scenes.
Yeah.
Like I think it's fine if like they're there like for comedic effect, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, here's this really strong like person you're meeting for the first time. Oh, it's a kid. Oh, well, they're actually like 1,000 years old, and that's as far as it goes. But like you said, like why dress them up that way? Why
Yeah.
use those
Yeah,
kind of
like,
scenes?
have you guys seen Gate?
No.
No.
No. So in Gate, there is a death goddess, right?
Okay.
And she's a lolly, but I wouldn't necessarily say she's like overly sexualized. Like there are moments where she gets sexualized, but her introduction is literally just beheading like 20 people at once with her
Ooh.
death scythe, and she's fully clothed.
Nice.
And I'm like, this is a nice change of pace.
yeah.
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 I
So,
love that for her.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so like stuff like that. I like you said, like I don't mind if they want to do like a quote unquote lolly or whatever, but just don't make it overly sexualized.
Yes,
I
exactly.
agree.
Talking about tropes we hate, I hate bad power scaling, or, as we call it, nerfing of characters.
Oh, my
Yeah.
gosh.
That gets me so mad, because I can't even take this anime seriously anymore once they do that. Like, let's all say who we're thinking, right? Sai. Are we gonna talk
Yeah.
about the fact that they had to have, I think it was both Naruto and Sakura actively trying their best to try and detain him, right? And
Well,
like
it wasn't just them. It was also
it was
Shikamaru
And
and Choji.
Kiba, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't Kiba there too?
I
Oh,
don't
I
know.
think it was Choji.
It was Choji.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And they have such a hard time. We need Shikamaru with the best strategy ever, and everyone like doing their best, and they still have a hard time facing off against him.
Well,
Immediately,
he almost also like goes in and ends Sasuke.
yeah.
Yeah,
He snuck up on him. Sasuke was like completely asleep and was unaware that Sai was there. And then like immediately after that
yeah.
fight,
Do you know how many people Sai has assassinated like successfully?
yeah, he was like the number one in like the
Close
the
to
root
1,000.
organization. Yeah.
1,000 people.
And he immediately after that turns into someone that can't even go up against Sakura. He's
Yeah.
so weak. He's so useless. He rarely wins fights on his own anymore. Like, it's insane. They murdered him, really. Like, it's
See,
bad.
I was actually thinking Rock Lee.
Oh, that too.
Oh,
Yeah, they did him
Honestly,
dirty.
they did him really
like,
dirty.
Adult
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rock Lee.
Yeah, dude. And like I feel like they did Neji dirty too.
Oh, well, he's,
Wow.
you know.
They,
Well, but
they nerfed him hard.
Yeah.
I mean, prior,
I could beat him
I
for
mean-
sure now.
I mean, prior to his death, right? Because
Yeah.
he was supposed to be this boy genius, right? Rock Lee was training. I mean, that's the whole reason why he trained in the 8 gates, right?
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
to beat Neji, and then
Yep.
he went, and then he learned what the 8 trigram steel. He learned rotation completely on his own
Yeah.
when he wasn't supposed to. To just being like a sub D character that's never to be seen again, like throughout Shippuden until the
Yep.
war arc, really.
Yeah.
Because remember that scene where they're trying to get Sasuke to come back before Shippuden, and he goes up against one of Orochimaru's goons, and
Yeah.
he's like slightly drunk?
Yeah.
What a boss. He has never been stronger than that moment.
Yeah, you know, and it's sad
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
because it was his monkey drunken fist, whatever he was calling it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
That was a great episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, because like you have Rock Lee that essentially was like the only person that was able to take down Gaara by himself at the time, right?
Mhm.
To him being some lackey.
Honestly, they even nerfed Gaara a little bit. I mean, he's still strong, but before he would just squeeze people to death, and
Dead.
that'd just be it.
Yeah.
It just instant, right?
And they made him get rid of, and like, of which I'm surprised that I'm forgetting his name. One Tail Beast.
The one. What do you mean?
The One Tail Beast. What's his name?
Oh, you're talking about Gaara's like.
Tailed Beast. Yeah.
Was it Shikaku? or-
Shikaku.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. They didn't reseal Shikaku back into Gaara for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
ridiculous.
Because that's what I mean. I'm not gonna say that's what made him strong, but that's what made him stronger,
Yeah.
right? Because nothing is stronger than a Jinchuriki, right?
Yeah.
So which is why like they nerfed Naruto, then they nerfed Sasuke,
You want to know who they nerfed? They
Hinata.
nerfed Konohamaru.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
they-
I
they
know
did
it
him
was an
doo-doo.
OVA, but even outside of the OVA, so like outside of the OVA, the man took down a pain
by himself.
by himself.
Yep.
Yeah,
One Rasengan, was capable of using the multi-shadow clone jutsu. Now, if you actually look at the OVA before we hit Boruto, he went up against Naruto. He gets
Mhm.
bodied.
Of course.
yeah,
He gets absolutely bodied. But what we see that he's able to do, he's already able to do as many shadow clones as Naruto, essentially. He still, on top of that, has enough to give every single shadow clone an Odama Rasengan. Odama Rasengan, even by itself, is crazy to do. Is able to use Asuma's like Ash into fire jutsu.
Mountain Ash, whatever.
Was
Yeah,
able to use Hiruzen's like Kage, like the
Kunai shadow
the
clone.
shuriken
Yeah.
Oh,
shadow clone
yeah.
jutsu. He was able to do all these things, and then you hit Boruto, and he feels very weak compared
Yeah.
to what Kakashi
Well,
was.
dude,
in
he
Naruto.
got bodied by what was I never remember his name. The guy that he's filled with curse marks.
Oh, it's like Jigen or something like that, right?
Yeah, he was probably like Sasuke's like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hati group, whatever
Yeah.
it was called.
I know what you're talking
So-
about.
Is that what they were called?
Hata, Haki, something like that.
They were like called like
The
Hawk or
Hata?
something like that.
Haka.
I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. So I want to be a Akatsuki group.
Yeah.
Is essentially what
Yeah.
they were, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever his name. He got bodied by him.
Yep.
Which makes no sense.
Yep.
He should have been able to take him out
Yeah.
Agreed.
relatively easily.
Yeah. So it's one of those things like that has been so upsetting for me. Yeah. But I think there's a lot of, and I don't want to just blame Naruto for this. I feel like so many animes nowadays just nerf characters just because they need to find a way to make the plot continue.
Well, it's like a
Yeah.
lot of it too, right? Because the issue with power scaling, right, is that if you keep scaling up, you're gonna have to keep going up and up and up unless you nerf them.
Yeah.
Which I get nerfing if it's done well,
It never is though.
It
but
never
it's very
is.
very seldomly it's
Yeah.
done well.
Yeah.
And this whole concept of like this, they always do this where it's like this is supposed to be like the strongest person alive, and then the moment they like beat them, they're like, oh, but did you know this is the strongest person alive, but was never found because, I don't know, like this is like they were wanting to be hidden or something. Like they just bring them out of the bushes, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So, which is why I feel like they had to bring in the Asosuke clan into Naruto.
Gosh.
So it's like, yeah. So it like you knew it was kind of going to go downhill if they didn't end it there.
And they didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Ooh, you know who got the most biggest power nerf?
Who?
10-10?
No, she actually got.
She's not fast anymore.
Yeah. The one that got killed by Black Zetsu. Just the whole idea.
Madara?
Yeah.
No.
Just him getting murdered by Black Zetsu was a nerf.
False. You guys want to know who got the nerf the hardest in Naruto?
Who?
Anko.
Yeah.
Like for me, that was like such a hard nerf because she was like everyone simped for her.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, I could
She
agree
was
with that.
definitely the number one girl in Naruto.
Yeah, and it's not like older people and like couldn't be, pretty, like just for some reason decided to not go down that route because they thought it'd be funny.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, she was already an adult, they didn't really
Yeah.
have to change her that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. They also kind of made her weak. It seems like she just forgot how to use her jutsus.
Well, that's the whole thing. She was like supposed to be someone who was like strong enough to get praise from like Orochimaru, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, they nerfed her to the ground right after the Chunin exam arc.
Yeah.
Yeah. So something that I wasn't a fan of, but yeah. Are there any other tropes that you guys don't like? Because again, for me, I like them all for the most part.
You like them all. For me, I know this is not surprising, but I don't like isekais that are just isekais to be an isekai. Like, I like good isekais like Mushoku Tensei, like Eminence in Shadow, things like that. But there are some isekais where I'm like, there's no point in this have been an isekai at all. And then there are some where they're isekais just to give them a weird OP power. And I feel like that's kind of lazy storytelling.
So, what do you think is a bad isekai and which one's a good isekai? Like, name one of each. So I can kind of get.
Yeah. So Mushoku Tensei is good because he starts off weak and he's not like completely OP, strongest right from the beginning.
Okay.
What's not a good isekai is what's it called? It was like, teen prodigies have it good in another world.
Oh, first of all, that was an incredible isekai.
I heavily disagree. Basically, the premise is these like teen geniuses get isekai'd in another world, and so because they were teen prodigies, because they were prodigies in the first world, they're able to bring it into the new world and be really great. So there's like someone in finances and like things like that.
Yeah.
And it just felt like everything was so easily resolved just because they were prodigies. So they had obstacles, but they were just completely resolved, not by trying to resolve it, but because they already had the skill set from the very beginning, just based on the fact that they were prodigies from the beginning.
Have you seen Overlord?
No.
So the thing is, I hate tropes when they have an overpowered like MC for this just the sake of being overpowered.
Yeah.
Right. Especially in an isekai.
Yeah.
Right. But then you have stuff like Overlord. Right. This guy is stupidly like overpowered. Like the guy could take down kingdoms and armies single-handedly. Right.
Okay.
The difference is that because he was isekai'd in his favorite game. Right. Ooh, big shocker.
Big shocker. Yeah. He knows the whole plot. Whoa.
But see, he got reincarnated in his character that he leveled up since like the beginning of the game, right?
Yeah.
And so it
would make sense why it's strong.
Yeah. So it makes sense why he's strong. But the thing is, because he doesn't know if he's the only person that's there. So because he creates another avatar of himself, or like a secondary skin. Because like. If you guys ever played any, like, so how you have like your tank, your DPS or whatever. Yeah. So he himself is a sorcerer, but he can make himself into a DPS character.
Interesting.
So so that's what he does, right? So he has different armor sets, so you don't recognize him. Okay. Right. So he has I think it's called Momon, which is like his hero name, and Aizengul is his like sorcerer name, right? Mm-hmm. So he uses Momon to travel throughout the kingdoms to figure out who's around, who's strong, what this world is actually about. And then when he figures out, like, okay, well, if I want to figure out if there's another player here, it looks like I'm going to have to start conquering things. And starts unaliving and masses. And it's great. So like that, I would say when it comes to OP, is cool.
Yeah, like tropes are good when they're implemented well.
Yeah, when they're executed well.
Yeah.
They're all implemented well.
I agree to disagree on that one.
For me, the only thing I don't like in isekais is, and it's mainly just because I've seen it so many times and I don't think it brings anything to the story, and I think it's like the worst joke in the world, is whenever they are brought into the new world as a baby, so like they're essentially reincarnated.
Oh my gosh,
and
yes.
And then it's the same scene every time. They open their eyes. What is this place?
It's like
and then they come up. Oh, these baby hands of mine. And it's like,
and they're always being breastfed, dude.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Oh,
like,
these
what
must
is
be my
this?
mama's hoppers.
No,
like,
but that's
what?
But that's not even how it starts off. It's not even like, oh, this must be my mom. It's always like, oh, who's that pretty lady?
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay.
Yeah.
I know. It just, I hate that trope.
So weird.
Yeah, I could agree with you on the isekai one.
Yeah.
But like another one that I really can't stand are dumb MCs.
Oh.
So I think it's overplayed. Like,
Well, it depends on how dumb.
so here's the thing.
Just like her MC is dumb like a rock.
I like my male characters fit and dumb. Like, oh my gosh. I'm like, let me take care of you. You know,
like
like
who?
you,
Say his name. It's okay.
Itadori. I honestly, he's just a perfect level of stupid where I'm like, let me protect you, little bun. You know, like I'll take good care of him. That's for sure. He can protect me physically. I'll protect him, like, you know, emotionally, mentally.
Oh, yeah. So what I mean is just when they're so dumb to the point that like you're using him strictly because you're too lazy to put in, this is how the story is supposed to go. Instead of being like, here's this dumb person. Oh, how does that work? And have the explanation.
Oh.
That's what I can't say. Because I just feel like
the exposition.
It's such a lazy way of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of like showing it and relaying it in the world. Like I have no problem, like Goku is a very dumb person, right? Like very dumb.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Executed well because you actually know how the power system works there. It's easy. So I don't mind stuff like that. Itadori, I don't mind. Again, story flows well, and you figure out how curses are played out throughout the story.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not like, how do curses work?
Yeah.
And da 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 da.
I mean, if you remember, he doesn't even learn how curses work until Gojo has him in that basement. Yeah, which is like very far into the story.
Yeah, what is that, like episode like 10?
I couldn't say.
No, that was actually.
Was it later than that?
It was early. It might be like episode 5.
No way.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was right before they went
Has to be after 5.
No, because first episode is like him getting his stuff. Next episode is
Nobara's introduction.
Then then it's immediately into the
But it was after the S grade curse.
No, well that's what I'm saying. It was that's S grade curse is the next 2 episodes, so that's 4. And then after 5 is the fight with Skuna. And then the rest is obviously just so it's
Really?
like
I could have
episode
sworn
6.
it was a lot later than that.
They kill him pretty early.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So they left him out of the story for like 3/4 of the season.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. Dang.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty impressive because we don't get him back until what was it, the school arc.
Yeah,
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
But like the reason why I also don't like the whole dumb MC because when you have someone that's super dumb, what else do you have to have? Someone that's like ridiculously smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what I can't stand because it's like it
Can you
makes
give me an example?
someone that's really dumb and
Like
then
an
really
anime
smart.
with it.
The one that I don't like or one that I do like.
That you don't like.
Okay, so I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, but anime wise, okay, again I have to emphasize this. Anime wise, I would have to say it's One Piece.
Ooh.
Okay. You have someone that's really dumb, Luffy.
Yeah.
Right? And then you have Nami, who is supposed to be like extremely smart. Right? And like that's what it bugs me.
I mean, I always got the impression that, of course, Luffy's like not the brightest, but he purposely puts on that facade of overly happy in order to kind of help his team through a very hard time.
So,
I think there's a difference between happy and dumb,
right,
though.
right. No, okay. So here's the thing. I'm also, how much of a spoiler can I put out there?
None.
Okay, that makes it hard. Okay, so there's
Wait, for what?
to explain Luffy.
Like, if you're going to explain a situation, that's fine, but don't spoil it with, like,
Okay.
the answers of what happened around it.
Okay, give me a second. So, do you know how Luffy stretches?
Yeah, the fruit, right?
The devil fruit.
Yeah.
So it's called the gum fruit,
Yeah.
right? The issue is that the theory is that it's not actually the gum fruit. It's actually a Joy Boy fruit from I'm trying not to like spoil anything. So essentially it came from someone very long ago, reincarnated potentially into Luffy. And anything he wants to happen with his deepest desire, and it's only limited by his imagination, is what his ability is.
Is this a theory or is this confirmed?
Both.
Oh, wait.
Like, it was a theory that got confirmed, or half is a theory and half is confirmed?
Yes. I don't want to spoil anything. So,
And that's, folks, is why One Piece is a mid-anime.
I think with that, I think we end it before we get into spoiler territory.
That's going to be hard. So we'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Let us know if you have any tropes that you hate in the comments. And if not, just leave a like and a subscribe. Thanks.
Yeah. And if you believe that Avatar The Last Airbender is not an anime because it was made in America, leave in the comments why you stand by that so strongly. And if we've changed your mind, maybe. In detail, we'll respond.
All right. Bye.
Bye.